Hey friends, what's going on? Tyler here from 3num, and got something a little bit unique. We recently had the opportunity to present the 3num overview and a bit of information about kind of what we're doing and why we're doing what we're doing. So we wanted to take an opportunity to present sort of a modified version of the deck. It doesn't have all the information that we shared in our recent meeting, but I thought it was a kind of a unique opportunity to have us discuss and share some concepts and some ideas and some background, honestly, about 3num that was really instrumental in helping us architect the approach, the 3num approach in the way that we did. Let's jump into things here. So introducing 3num, the world's first Web3 mobile number. That's what we're doing. 3num in a nutshell is the ability to mint a phone number as an NFT that you can use for secure messaging between your Web3 and your Web2 friends. So bit of background on our founder and our team. Our founder, Chris, is a technical founder. He's spent the majority of his career building cryptography-based security products, dating back to the 90s, where he was on one of the core teams of a very successful company that IPO'd in the late 90s, and has gone on and started other businesses. Is one specifically that was a network security company that was acquired post Series A. And so those learnings and experiences of building security products using cryptography were a critical building block for us being able to sort of pull this off today. The last 6 years, both Chris, our founder, as well as myself and Joshua on our team has been really focused on working in the blockchain and identity space. It turns out there's a lot of problems related to identity, and there's quite a few overlaps in terms of how that sort of manifests itself with 3num. But those learnings were instrumental in terms of us architecting a solution that was the kind of end version of our 3num shields. And so those learnings and experiences were really important. And somewhat unrelated, but actually quite critical to the launch and kind of founding of the project was our founder in 2019, Chris, was actually the victim of a SIM swap attack. He knew about the attack, but the unfortunate thing is that there is very little that you as a user can do because it is a social engineered attack. Where a user or a bad actor, I should say, will call your telco company, pretend to be you, and they'll say, "Hey, I got a new phone. Please port my number over to this new SIM," with the intention of being able to intercept important 2FA codes for accessing things like banking websites, Coinbase to get your crypto, etc. So it's a precursor to say SMS-based 2FA is really bad. But those two, kind of key pivotal events in terms of the blockchain and identity, and also being the victim of a SIM swap, were important as we transitioned into what are we doing now? What problem are we solving? And digital identity in general is quite broken. We have become so reliant on these digital identifiers, including things like social auth using Facebook or Google, email, which has about 4.1 billion daily active users, and then phone numbers, which interestingly has more mobile subscribers and more users on a daily basis than email does. But the problem is that although mobile numbers are actually more common in terms of their kind of daily use, they're actually the least secure. A lot of those concerns that you might be familiar with is that SMS-based auth that I just shared, SIM swapping, bad idea, shouldn't be doing that. Over and above that, other concerns like ID spoofing, it's quite trivial to pull off, basically pretending to be someone who you aren't so that you could convince an unsuspecting victim into maybe clicking a smishing link or some other type of kind of mobile fraud. And then over and above that, the actual communication channels for mobile voice and SMS and messaging, they're not encrypted. So when you're just sending a normal message from one phone number to another, those aren't encrypted or secured. Things like SMS spam and SMS fraud, they're quite prevalent because users don't have any control over both the identifier, that mobile number, and sort of the way that other people can interact with that. What's interesting about phone numbers is that mobile numbers have actually proven to be quite effective as a global messaging identifier. So what's sort of unique about the way that they're structured, and it's actually a bit similar to like maybe a wallet address, no two are going to ever be the same. We've sort of standardized the way in which those numbers are doled out and allocated. Like it's very systematized. But the problem is the numbers themselves don't have any inherent security properties. So the way that we've adopted using mobile numbers is quite insecure. So the aha moment that led to Threenum was when Chris was SIM swapped. He spent a bunch of time trying to think about, how do I solve this problem? And he used the learnings from the identity days of saying, well, we have abilities to cryptographically prove ownership over something. And so he started thinking, and the solution was, well, if you mint a mobile number as a NFT, you solve the SIM swap problem because control of said number is only done by the wallet. But it goes further than that, because what you're actually doing is building a way to have a secure blockchain-based identity. But that identifier is based on a globally routable number, which again is the most common messaging identifier used. But what's empowering about that is that we can offer a frictionless transition from existing SMS and voice into secure mobile messaging with end-to-end encryption. So as a user, you could get this Threenum and continue operating throughout the world just like you otherwise would be, knowing that security is always going to be prioritized and that you have control, which is super important. And the other thing I'll touch on is just that the way that this approach has been sort of structured by taking a normal mobile number and minting it into an NFT means that we don't need network effects to be successful, because the user experience from using a Threenum to using a traditional phone number, albeit much better, is actually quite comparable. So the way that you initiate messages, in addition to being able to actually route to traditional phone numbers. I was reading an article today, which was really interesting, about the fact that there's 100 million wallet addresses, and out of those there's about 2.5 monthly active users, which is abysmal. If you think about your daily iMessage or Signal or Telegram messaging, specifically this article was referencing WhatsApp, and I believe WhatsApp has 1.4 billion active users. The big challenge with these Web3 addresses is that there's not a huge robust sort of incentive to want to continue to use them. And so while they may solve the problem of getting off insecure traditional phone numbers, they require building out a network effect, which frankly doesn't exist in a significant, meaningful way when you compare it to the 5 billion people that already have phone numbers. So what we did and what we transitioned into was building the Threenum Shield, which is a mobile number minted as an NFT. And again, the beauty in that is that it creates this Web3 sovereign identity that can initiate end-to-end encrypted messaging with other Web3 addresses, as well as being able to route and message traditional 5.1 billion mobile numbers, because it's actually built from that. And so what we did was we launched a rare kind of OG special limited edition version in January. Some of our OG holders are probably watching this now. And what that did was it gave us the ability to offer a kind of unique special versioned Threenum Shield that'll come with, or that does come with, kind of unique features and things that you won't get by just buying a normal Web3 mobile number. And you can currently use that with our SMS messaging gateway for inbound messages. So you could use it for wallet secured 2FA, again, because it can't be SIM swapped. You're secure from that standpoint. And it's also great for having a anonymous number that you can register with messaging apps. This is another problem with phone numbers, is that most of them carry a lot of PII data. And it's trivial to go and find a lot of things that you may not want people to find out about you. Traditional mobile numbers are sort of a gateway to doxing. And so when you buy something in crypto and it's secured by your wallet, the only correlating identifier, the only correlating thing to that number at all is the wallet address, which if you spin up a new one, you're able to sort of move through the world relatively anonymously. So those numbers are perfect for registering with these other encrypted messaging apps. So our sort of go-to-market plan is that we're really working to beachhead with Web3 users. Obviously, taking a traditional mobile number and turning it into a Web3 address requires a bit of a understanding of how blockchain works and how, to use wallets and interface with these sort of more technically complicated products and technologies. So what we're starting with is really beachheading with these users, and driving adoption is going to be done by offering a way to do all your Web3 messaging with your Web3 friends, connect your Threenum with other additional identifiers like a Web3 username, just have messages come to a wallet address, so on and so forth, but also let that serve as a way to initiate encrypted messages to traditional phone numbers. what we're able to do is for all of the Web3 people who understand the value and the benefits that Web3 messaging can bring, but they recognize you still need to be able to interface with the legacy systems, we're able to actually pull that off through the Threenum experience. And then from there, we're going to iterate on additional features within the mobile app experience, things like SMS spam prevention, things like bot prevention, smart inboxes, also additional ways to be able to sort of control how access to your messaging identifier works. And again, that's all configurable by the user within the Threenum app, and a bunch of other really cool things that we can point you at. So then as we expand to the rest of the market, what we're really going to be focusing on is a sort of a cheaper, better, faster, stronger, more secure replacement to things like Google Voice, or maybe as a second phone line, or something that you could adopt altogether as a actual phone replacement. And what's really awesome is that what we're doing with Threenum is we're sort of decoupling the application layer and the identifier from the network. So right now, if you go to your telco provider, you get this monolithic service, you get the number, you get the ability to do SMS and voice, and it's all sort of bundled within this data plan that's quite expensive that you may not actually really need. And so what we're able to do is we can actually offer a cheaper version of a mobile plan that has all the baked-in security and is actually prioritizing end-to-end encrypted messaging between Web3 addresses without a user necessarily even knowing that. The approach or the strategy that we're taking is really trying to take the 5.1 billion users and sort of bridge them into this new world. So what that does is we can offer a true upgrade path from the traditional mobile subscribers and mobile numbers into secure end-to-end encrypted messaging with a sovereign identifier that you can totally trust and use. In any event, this was a part of that deck that we presented, and it's kind of interesting because what people think about when they think about phone numbers isn't usually related to things like identity and identifiers and sort of the applications of it. It's just this thing that's kind of public, but you don't necessarily want it to be, and it can, lead to doxing, and it doesn't do secure messaging. And so this was a opportunity for us to apply some of those kind of mental models and approaches to solving problems with respect to how we move throughout the world in a very pragmatic way that we think is going to upgrade everybody who's using a expensive traditional mobile plan into this secure and then encrypted kind of Web3 identifier based messaging approach. So that's what we're doing. So if this was something that was interesting or of value to you, but there were other components to the Threenum approach that we maybe didn't go super in depth on, I'd love to know. Please put them in a comment below, and I'd be happy to do additional kind of deep dives and overviews about what we're doing, how things work, why we're taking the approach that we are, because sometimes those concepts can get lost in translation when it's in a written Medium article or if it's on Twitter. So anyway, we really appreciate you tuning in. If you do have questions, feel free to put them here. You can currently go and get a Threenum Shield, and you can grab those on our website, threenum.co, starting at just 0.015 ETH per year. So be sure to go grab your Threenum Shield and enjoy secure and trusted messaging. We look forward to seeing you over in Discord. Thanks so much.